Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with another video. It's 9:30 at night here in New York City. I hope everybody's well. More importantly, I hope everybody is safe. As you may or may not have heard, there's been a school shooting in Texas, and everybody, myself included, has been giving their opinions online about what happened and about what can be done. Ultimately, let's be honest, it's sort of a moot point because you can't solve the evil in the human heart. Right? As the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. But I wanted to address something from a politician. Not something I often do, but this got tweeted to me. And I'll have to admit, there's a part of me that knows better. There's a part of me that knows that this is not a new argument, that politicians always love to blame media for the problems of the youth, right? In the 50s, they love to blame Elvis. They love to blame comic books, the seduction of the innocent. They love to blame movies like Rebel Without a Cause, or they love to blame songs like Rock Around the Clock for teenage delinquents. And I've literally grown up gaming since 4 years old, and I've heard Jack Thompson and Hillary Clinton and all those people speak against games and try to blame games for the ills of, Columbine and things like that, right? Doom and Duke Nukem were the games that supposedly taught you how to kill. So I know logically that this is not a new argument and that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I believe is a conservative, right, that she's simply parroting the same message that's been parroted for decades. At the same time, and perhaps it's just because of my sour mood, but this really got under my skin, and that's why I'm making this video, and that's why this video is directed to Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, as several of my tweets have been. Hello, dearie. I am not the woman to piss off. Because, see, I'm a New York ghetto kid, and that never quite leaves you, even as you get older. And since the good representative here wants to attack something so near and dear to my heart, I'm going to educate her a little bit. So sit back, relax, and let Miss Gentry teach you something. Especially when you pop off at the mouth about something you don't know a damn thing about. So let's go over this. All right, so you have the representative here listing all these various issues and points about the mental state of school shooters. And to believe it or not, I'm focusing on a particular small part. The beginning portion that she mentions actually brings up a lot of common points or truths, right? Mental illness, going on and off medication, parents who don't always know what to do or who are inattentive, things of that nature, right? She even says here in point 13, most schools, mass shooters have taken or recently stopped taking medications for mental illness. Taking or going off and on of these meds can increase instability and oftentimes exacerbate mental health problems instead of helping solve the underlying emotional crisis. That's absolutely correct. I've done a lot of reading and a lot of watching about school shooters and mass shooters recently. And yeah, that's a common trait, right? Undiagnosed, unresolved, serious mental issues that make people homicidal. That's a good point. And then she completely ruins her point by doing the classic, let's blame what the kids like. Right? So she says here at point 14, but there are other very serious factors we have to widely recognize and discuss. Most, if not all, of these teenage shooters have spent years in solitude, playing video games, killing people on the screen, and becoming desensitized to what murdering people really means. First of all, Representative, unless you've had the unfortunate experience of literally killing somebody, you don't know shit either about what it is to kill someone. Right now, I'll admit I don't know anything about you, but you don't list anything about being in the military. So I highly doubt you know what it's like to be desensitized to violence either, or the mental and emotional and spiritual horror of taking a person's life, right? So you have absolutely no place to be commenting on what being desensitized to murder in the real world is. No doubt you grew up watching violent TV and watching violent movies too. Would you consider yourself desensitized to violence, to real world violence, just because you most likely consumed violent media in some fashion or still do? Because, a lot of you politicians are just flat out hypocrites. You'll complain about violent media and then you'll watch it in your nice, cushy, fancy homes that you shouldn't be able to afford on your salaries in the first place. So I highly doubt you understand what it is to kill a person or what it is to be desensitized to violence. Though I do think you are desensitized to good sense. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be a politician. But let's continue. An already traumatized or abused young male teen. It could never be a woman, right? Could never be a woman. I guess you know nothing about the shooting, what was it, 1979, 1980, where a woman shot kids from a window. She shot the kids that were going to an elementary school. I guess you never heard about that one, right? Because it was a woman. And apparently you don't know how to use Google. In fact, that shooting was the inspiration for the Boomtown Rat song, I Don't Like Mondays, because when the woman was arrested and she was asked why she did this, she responded, I don't like Mondays. So apparently you think that this could never happen to women. Women would never do this, right? Every woman is loving and would just never hurt children unless it's the Hart family murders. But that's a different story, right? Right? Women could never be violent in the same way young men can, because young men apparently are being taught to kill by playing Call of Duty, right? Couldn't be other real world factors or issues like violent situation, bullying, mental health, violence in the home, right? Literally hearing voices in the head or other issues that make a person homicidal. It can't be that. It has to be that, oh, he played Call of Duty, he played Doom, he played this, he played that. That must have made him crazy. Because pressing a controller is the same thing as holding a weapon. Dumbass. Anyway, to repeat this stupidity, an already traumatized or abused young male teen spending a large amount of time alone. You don't know much about gaming, do you? Gaming is not a pastime many spend by themselves, especially in the modern day where you can literally get on the internet and you can go on chat, right? Where people go online, right, and they do Twitch streams or whatever, and they communicate with other individuals. But even prior to the modern day, gaming was always at least a two-person activity. Anybody who had old school gaming consoles like the NES, Super NES, Genesis, PlayStation, PS1, 2, 3, whatever it is, knows that you would always get two controllers because they had two ports, because it was always intended for you to play with other people. In fact, in Japan, the NES is known as the Famicom, family computer. It was always intended to be used by at least two individuals, but I don't expect Marjorie Taylor Greene to actually know any of this, because I highly doubt she's played a freaking video game, right? Because who cares about the truth? We have a tragedy, and we must manipulate that to support our message. And hey, let's blame what the kids like, although we have no experience with it, and we don't actually talk to kids, right? Nothing about the case thus yet has suggested anything about this person specifically being inspired by Call of Duty or any other game to kill, but instead, let's just blame the video games. Because we just have to, keep producing distractions because we're politicians. And regardless of whether you're red or blue, you're a politician. And you don't actually give a damn about these issues. Otherwise, you would actually try to solve them instead of putting offensively dumb tweets online. But anyway, spending large amounts of time alone, mentally killing people online. No. Mentally killing people. Unless you mean people having, disturbing dreams about murder, right? But then again, that's a mental health issue. Guess what? Mentally killing people online. You mean not all that different from watching people die on TV and realizing that, hey, it's fake. Nobody really died. I guess when I was playing Mortal Kombat as a kid, right, it was training me on how to murder people. Yet I never went on to murder people, and I certainly never learned martial arts. I can't do a kata to this day. But yeah, it was the video games. Sure, sure. During critical formative years of puberty, with high amounts of testosterone naturally occurring in their body, is a dangerous factor. Oh yes, let's blame the natural male makeup, right? The chemical makeup of men, because testosterone typically makes men more aggressive on average than women, right? So now every young man is a ticking time bomb because apparently even as a teenager you don't have any concept of right or wrong or good or bad or what is fantasy or reality if you're a teenage boy, because how dare you play violent video games and have testosterone pumping through your veins? Not only are you girl crazy, but now you're gun crazy. Remember, she's the one who said it, not me. 16. Young developing male teens need to be led by good, strong, supportive male role models and safe environments. Yes, this I agree with, right? And then she goes on about fathers and grandfathers, and I agree, yes. Men and women need positive male role models in their lives in those formative years. I certainly wish I'd had one. I didn't grow up with my father in my life or many positive male role models. I certainly could have used that. But it doesn't mean that you're doomed either if you don't have that. And now she goes here, right? So picks back up at 19. School mass shooters who experience childhood trauma, lacking a loving, stable home, and being raised in an American godless culture. Oh, honey, America's been godless for a very long time. Probably long before you were born. So stop with this. Okay, you're not actually a practicing Christian. I highly doubt that. Right? The current president certainly isn't a practicing Catholic. Right? Hell, Nancy Pelosi, I think, just got denied communion because of her pro choice stance. So please, stop talking about God being in culture. Right? I'm all for, belief in God. Obviously, as a Christian, I believe in God. But American culture, by and large, has been secular and godless for generations. This is not a new thing. This is not something that was caused by video games or anything else. This has long been a problem. And this is long, it's just what it is, right? We don't have a shared faith as Americans like other countries do, right? Because, first of all, there are just so many different religions practiced, right? There's no official state religion. And some may say, well, the majority of Americans are Christian. But here's the thing. What type of Christian, right? There is Baptist, there's Southern Baptist, there's Roman Catholic, there's Protestant, there's all these different things, right? There are people who believe in God but who are not convinced or don't want to be part of organized religion. That's what I was when I was younger. So, right, you talk about American godless culture. That's not new. That's not new. Culture is a problem. But bringing up the fact that it's godless, it's like, honey, it's been godless for decades. If you want God in your personal culture, in your family culture, yeah, have him in there. But in broader American society, it doesn't really work. And if you look at American history, when we were supposedly a more godly people, we were still sinning all the time, right? So please stop with that. It hates masculinity, demeans men, puts girls or trans above boys, or turns boys into girls, teaches fleshly desires over responsibility work. Oh, you mean like society always has in a secular first world country? That surprised you? You mean that obeying fleshly desire wasn't being taught 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago? Honey, stop with this idea that America in the 40s or 50s was just so morally strong, right? It wasn't. That's a myth. Right? But here's the thing 20. Feeling hopeless, spending hours in solitude daily playing video games that mentally train them to kill people, and then likely taking psychiatric drugs or recreational drugs or both is a common deadly recipe for mass murder. Here's the thing, yes, the feeling hopeless thing, right, is of course probably the biggest problem here. Again, many gamers don't spend all that time alone, but yeah, some do, right? And yes, I'm not a fan of the use of drugs, but here's the thing. Just because somebody likes to play a lot of video games and likes to get high and is hopeless does not automatically mean that they are a doomed killer. It means they have problems that they need to address. It means that they are dealing with something very heavy in their life that they don't have the strength to face. And tweets like this don't help them. People don't cope well. People tend to choose the easy way out or the self destructive way out. But just because somebody is in a bad spot in life or somebody at that moment is hopeless and they're doing things like spending too much time gaming or they're taking drugs, right, does not mean that they are a lost cause. And how dare you imply that they are? Not every person with this deadly cocktail is going to be a mass murderer. Most people who have this deadly combination in your mind are not mass killers. They're broke college students, or they're broke and sad high school students. These people need help and they need encouragement and they need to learn how to either give up certain things like the drug use or how to learn to balance things like their gaming time. But to imply that somebody who's in this position is just a ticking time bomb for mass murder is frankly insulting. This doesn't help anybody. It wouldn't have helped me when I was younger and in my angry kid phase, which was a very, very scary and dangerous time in my life. You know what did help me though? Gaming. Because it allowed me to get my aggressions out. I can't speak to the drugs, I never did drugs, I was never into that. Right? But gaming didn't teach me to mentally kill. Gaming gave me a controlled outlet for my aggressions. Better than I beat up Heihachi from Tekken 100 times than beat up people in real life, right? And possibly serve a jail sentence for the beating I'd give them, considering the way I was picked on. Not that you would care, because you don't actually care, Representative, about the mental health of these individuals who are in this precarious position. Same way Candace Owens doesn't care. Candace Owens would literally rather blame a person's fashion sense than blame a person for their own actions and decisions. And you're no better than she is. But in particular, and this is why I'm making this video, she wants to talk about mentally train them to kill people. Well, here's the thing. Outside of gaming and giving hot takes on the internet, I read a lot. I have a lot of books. One of those books is called The Code of the Warrior, written about, guess what? Various warrior cultures throughout societies across human history. And it tries to explain the psychology of a person called to that, a person called to be a warrior, called to be a fighter, literally called to fight and die. And one of the things the book touches on is indeed killing and what it takes mentally, how militaries mentally prepare a person to kill. Because believe it or not, murder is not exactly an easy thing, right? It's actually hard to kill another person, not just in a physical sense, but in a mental and moral sense, right? It eats at you. At least if you have a conscience, it eats at you to kill another person. So, this book explains some of the ways the military helps their soldiers get over that natural aversion to murder, in particular to murdering another human being. And the book says, trying to find it here. Here we go. So it says here, in his powerful work on killing, the psychological cost of learning to kill in war and society, by Lieutenant Colonel David Grossman, a soldier, a military man, illuminates the process by which those in war and those training for war attempt to achieve emotional distance from their enemies. The practice of dehumanizing the enemy through the use of abusive or euphemistic language is a common and effective tool for increasing aggression and breaking down inhibitions against killing. It continues. It is so much easier to kill someone if they look distinctly different than you. If your propaganda machine can convince your soldiers that their opponents are not really human, but are inferior forms of life, then their natural resistance to killing their own species will be reduced. Often the enemy's humanity is denied by referring to him as various racial slurs that I'm not going to say on camera because I don't want to get in trouble or accused of racism. But it's very insulting terms, right? And Grossman goes on to note, right, that it can be easy to unleash this genie of racial and ethnic hatred in order to facilitate killing in time of war. It can be more difficult to keep the cork in the bottle and completely restrain it once it's out and the war is over. The genie is not easily put back in the bottle. Such hatred lingers over the decades, even centuries, as can be seen today in Lebanon and what was once Yugoslavia. Both the pages of history and current news streams are stained with atrocities arising from the systemic dehumanization of fellow human beings. In his searing work, Less Than Human, Why We Demean, Enslave, and Exterminate Others, philosopher David Livingstone Smith explains how this occurs. We are innately biased against outsiders. This bias is seized upon and manipulated by indoctrination and propaganda to motivate men and women to slaughter one another. This is done by inducing men to regard their enemies as subhuman creatures, which overrides their natural biological inhibitions against killing. So, dehumanization has the specific function of unleashing aggression in war. This is a cultural process, not a biological one, but it has to piggyback on biological adaptations in order to be effective. Just a small commentary on dehumanization. So, Major, Major, sorry, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Rep. Green. What in the American society, what two institutions are best designed to dehumanize the other? I'll tell you, the military, which you no doubt support being conservative, and politics. Both are master classes on dehumanizing others, of othering other people and shouting them down and being nothing but angry, violent, and divisive. And you are part of that system. You want to look at me, you want to look at gamers, and blame us for the ills that you participate in. You do nothing to contribute to even trying to address the actual problems. You do nothing but put out stupid tweets that do nothing but incite anger, that do nothing but hurt others. Hurt people you don't even know. Because you need a scapegoat to blame. Because you don't have the strength to look in the mirror and realize that what you fight for, what you support, the party you're a part of, the system you're a part of, is what plays into this more than a video game ever could. You are the problem. You are the divisive one. You are the one who dehumanizes anybody who is different than you. Leave my video games out of this. Gaming didn't cause this. Movies didn't cause this. Music didn't cause this. Anger and hatred did. Anger and hatred that you and people on your side and the people on the other side gladly participate in because you don't actually give a damn. This is just another tragedy in your eyes to promote your politics, not to solve the problem, not to save lives, but to simply diss any Democrat, right? Any Democrat or anybody who you feel does not represent good conservative Christian values, as if you know what the hell that is. You're nothing more than a liar and a cheat, just like every other politician. It doesn't matter what colors you wear. It doesn't matter whether you put the American flag. You're as bad as the same ones who put the Ukrainian flag in their bios and don't give a damn about what the war is doing to the innocent people over there. You're all the same type of rat. And I call you a rat because you spread the disease. You spread the disease of misinformation. You spread the disease of dehumanization. You spread the disease of othering. You spread the disease of blaming everybody else who is not like you. And that's why I call you a rat. Because it's true. Believe me, this has got nothing to do with the fact that you're a conservative. I'm apolitical. I don't like any of you, Democrat or Republican. But you come after something that literally saved my life, that kept me out of the prisons, that kept me from being a statistic, then yeah, I'm going to call you out. Now, you probably don't know me. You probably don't care. But hell, this is the internet. I get to talk about who I want and what I want. So while you go to bed tonight, and while I go to bed tonight, and we get to wake up the next day, there are 2 adults, and now I think around 20 kids who don't have that chance, who had that taken from them in an act of hate. Their families are going to be mourning. You're not going to be at the funeral. You're not going to contribute any money. You're not going to share a Bible verse with them to help them cope. You're not going to be there for them. But you sure as hell will do your damnedest to try to dunk on others or blame others. Because again, you're a politician, and you can't let a tragedy go to waste. If it bleeds, it leads. And if it bleeds, well then, perfect way to promote my divisive politics. and shame people who don't think as I do and blame them for a complex societal issue that, in truth, the profession I'm in contributes to. But again, I don't think you have the strength to actually look in the mirror and realize just how guilty you are of participating in the very dehumanization that creates situations like this. Because again, you're a politician. You can't literally be paid to care. You're paid to make a statement, you're paid to parrot a party line, but you don't actually give a damn. So just be honest about that you don't really care. And stop trying to blame something that I care about because you need someone to blame or something to blame. Something that's not even distinctly American. Most games came out of Japan. But again, you're not a gamer, so you wouldn't know that. Have a nice night, Representative Taylor Greene. Sleep well. I hope that your conscience at least acknowledges that those 20 kids are gone. Not that you'll do anything about it, because you politicians never do. You make promises you can't keep, you point fingers, you blame everybody but yourselves. You blame everybody but the divisive world you've helped create. And you wonder why this keeps happening. It happens because of bad leadership, because of bad governance, because of politicians who treat our lives as ploys, as toys, as headlines to promote their politics. That's all you are, and that's all you do. Anyway, I have a job to get to in the morning. One that actually does help people when they're in need. But anyway, that's the video. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day night wherever you are. Bye.